They handed me a name tag at my own brother's wedding that said +1. Not Adrian, not Tyler's brother, not even my last name. Just +1. Like I was someone's forgotten date. Like I hadn't spent the last decade quietly holding our entire family together with both hands. While nobody noticed, I was bleeding. I want to tell you what happened that night. And I want to tell you what I did after. Because this isn't just a story about a bad seating chart. This is about what happens when the person who always absorbs the damage finally decides, enough. My name is Adrian. I'm 34. My brother Tyler is 31. And if you've ever had a sibling who seemed to float through life on charm, while you quietly did the heavy lifting, you already know exactly the kind of dynamic I'm about to describe. Tyler was the golden one, the one with the easy smile, the polished career, the room that lit up when he walked in. And me? I was the scaffolding. Invisible, load-bearing, never celebrated, just expected to hold everything up while the rest of the structure got admired. I don't say that with bitterness, at least not the kind I used to swallow. I say it because it's the truth, and I spent too many years arranging the truth into a shape that would make everyone else comfortable. Let me take you back. Not to the wedding, not yet. Because to understand what happened that night, you need to understand how we got there. I was 10 years old when Tyler smashed our dad's watch. He'd been showing off, tossing it like a toy, and when it hit the floor and scattered into pieces, he turned and pointed at me before the sound had even finished echoing. Just like that. No hesitation. And my parents, they looked at me, and my dad said the line that would define the next 2 decades of my life. Adrian, be the example. He's younger. He's still learning. Be the example. I've turned those words over in my mind more times than I can count. What they really meant was, absorb this. Carry it. Don't make it harder for the rest of us. And I did. Every single time. At 17, Tyler took my car without asking, and came back with a dented bumper and a shrug. I paid the insurance. Didn't say a word. At 21, he got picked up for shoplifting, and my phone rang at midnight. I drove to that station, bailed him out, called it a misunderstanding to anyone who asked, because peace in our family always cost more than truth, and I was the one paying the bill. Then came Marissa. The first time I met Tyler's fiancée, she looked at what I did for a living, logistics, crisis management, vendor coordination, and smiled like I'd told her I collected bottle caps. Logistics, huh? Cute. Like years of precision and problem-solving were a quaint little hobby. I laughed it off the way I always did, but it landed exactly where she aimed it, right in the part of me that had always been told to shrink. I told myself it was nerves. First impressions. Give her time. I gave her time. It didn't get better. So when Tyler called to tell me about the wedding, I was already carrying years of quiet damage. But family's family. I showed up. I bought an engraved decanter set. Elegant, timeless, something they could keep for decades. I drove 2 hours. I walked into a venue that looked like something pulled from a dream. String lights draped over oak beams, a lake shimmering behind rows of white chairs, laughter everywhere, glasses catching the light. And at the check-in table, the wedding planner looked at her list, frowned just slightly, and said, "You're listed as a +1. I thought she'd made a mistake. I even laughed a little. I told her I was the groom's brother. She looked at me with the specific kind of sympathy that people give you when the situation is worse than you realize, and she showed me the chart. Tyler's brother. Not my name, not a title, a category, a margin note. And when I found my seat, tucked near the swinging kitchen doors, where servers brushed past all night, with trays of food and zero acknowledgement, I saw the rest of the picture clearly. My ex, Tessa, the one Tyler had introduced me to years back, was seated near the sweetheart table, close enough to toast. I was close enough to smell the rosemary burning in the kitchen. I asked Marissa about it. She tilted her head with that practiced softness people use when they want to seem kind while doing something cruel. We just had to make some tough calls, space-wise. No hard feelings, right? No hard feelings. I sat in that folding chair by the kitchen doors. I watched Tyler lean over and whisper something to Tessa. I watched her smile back, too warmly, the way you smile at someone you already know well. I watched my gift get shuffled into a pile of boxes no one was looking at, and something in me went very, very quiet. Not the numb quiet I'd been living in for years, a different kind, the quiet that comes just before a decision. I stood up, walked slow and deliberate across that room, picked up my gift box, and headed for the door. Marissa's voice cut through the music. "Wait, where are you going?" I turned just enough for her to hear me. Plus oneness. Someone gasped. Someone laughed. I kept walking. Tyler followed me into the parking lot, jacket open, voice uncertain. "Adrian, wait. What was that? It's my wedding, man. Come on." I looked at him, really looked at him. "You let her put me by the kitchen." He scratched the back of his neck. "I didn't. Look, it's not a big deal, right? Not a big deal." That's the moment I realized the problem was never just Marissa. The problem was that Tyler had spent 31 years deciding that things done to me weren't a big deal. Because I never made them one. Because I always absorbed, always adjusted, always swallowed it down and smiled and fixed whatever came next. Not anymore. I got in my car and drove. No destination, just movement. The kind of driving you do when your chest is too full to sit still. Eventually I ended up at an overlook outside town, the kind of place with a view of the city lights spread out below like a scattered constellation. I sat there in the dark and I let myself feel all of it. The favoritism, the jokes, the endless role of invisible fixer. The way being reliable had somehow become the same thing as being disposable. And then I opened my laptop. Here's something Tyler and Marissa didn't fully understand about me. I don't just work in logistics. I work in crisis management. I know vendors, contracts, leverage points. I know where things are held together with tape versus bolts. And as it turned out, their wedding had a lot of tape. The caterer, Nancy, had been my client before she was theirs. I got her that job. So I called her. Professional, polite. She lowered her voice. They underpaid the deposit, changed half the guest list 3 days before. Honestly, if you hadn't been involved early on, we wouldn't have pulled it off. That was what I needed to hear. I didn't go nuclear. That's not how I operate. I'm a slow burn. First, I canceled the crystal glassware set I'd ordered as a follow-up wedding gift and redirected it to myself. Figured I'd earn decent Scotch glasses more than they had. Then I called the photographer and told her the discounted rate she'd been offering Tyler wouldn't be necessary going forward. Small threads, quietly snipped. Subject line. Need help. Of course. Their honeymoon was unraveling. Passports, flights, villa transfers, all of it jammed up. And his message, "You're the only one I trust with this stuff. You're good at it. Please, man." No apology, no acknowledgement of what had happened. Just a favor wrapped in flattery, same as always. I started typing a reply. Unfortunately, this +1 doesn't take bookings anymore. But then a better idea surfaced. I forwarded the email to Angela, an old colleague in travel logistics, not to ask for help, to flag them. Within days, the dominoes started falling. Nancy filed a breach of contract claim, late payments, altered guest counts, last-minute changes triggering a 25% penalty clause. The bartender followed. The venue backed them both. Tyler and Marissa were suddenly staring at thousands of dollars in fees and withheld deposits, and they had no idea the floor had been pulled out until they were already falling through it. 2 weeks later, a cousin posted wedding photos. 83 pictures. I appeared in one, blurry, near the kitchen doors. No portraits, no mention in captions, nothing. But Tessa was tagged front and center, smiling like she was part of the family. That's when I made my own post. No names, no tags, just a simple slideshow, behind-the-scenes shots from my phone, me adjusting table numbers, helping the florist, a screenshot of the seating chart, with +1, Tyler's brother, clearly visible, and a caption, "Helped plan this wedding, found the venue, got the caterer a discount, showed up early to set up, was seated near the kitchen as a +1, bride said I should understand, so I left quietly. 2 weeks later, they asked for help again. I declined. Apparently that makes me petty. Just facts. Just the truth. Old friends reached out. Cousins commented. The words I kept seeing again and again. I always wondered why you weren't at our table. And Marissa's boss, her actual boss, started following me. Her carefully curated image developed a very public crack. Tyler called, frantic. She says you're ruining her reputation. Can you please take it down? I listened. Then I made a second post. Been asked to delete my last post. Apparently, the truth is damaging. But I don't delete what's true. I spent too many years making myself small for other people's comfort. Never again. The silence after that was the loudest thing I'd ever heard. 3 weeks later, a thick envelope arrived, Tyler's handwriting on the front. Adrian, I let Marissa call the shots because I thought keeping the peace mattered more than standing up for my brother. I was wrong. You always had my back, and I made you feel invisible. I don't expect forgiveness, but I'm sorry. No excuses, just that. I left it on my desk for days, because a letter, however genuine, doesn't erase decades. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't in a hurry to make someone else feel better about something they'd done to me. Thanksgiving came. Tyler was there. Marissa wasn't. After dessert, he found me in the kitchen, appropriate given everything, and said, "Thanks for coming." I said, "Thanks for the letter." He shifted his weight, looked at the floor. I meant every word. I was a fool. I don't want things to be like this. You can want that, I told him, but you're going to have to earn it. One letter doesn't undo years. He didn't argue, and over the months that followed, he actually showed up. Texts that asked nothing, coffee without an agenda, just presence without expectation. Marissa, for her part, never reached out. Her social circle quietly contracted. Her reputation took the kind of slow, steady damage that comes not from one scandal, but from a pattern finally being seen clearly. By spring, Tyler hosted a cookout. No formal seating, no +1 labels. Just burgers, cheap beer, and people who actually knew each other. He handed me the tongs. "Grill duty, it's tradition now." When the night wound down, he raised his bottle. To Adrian for showing me what a brother should be, even when I didn't deserve it. I clinked mine against his. "Took you long enough." Everyone laughed. And in that laughter, that easy, warm, unguarded laughter, I understood something I hadn't before. Forgiveness isn't the same as forgetting. It isn't pretending years of damage never happened. It's making a clear-eyed choice about who's worth giving a future to. And sometimes, the person most worth giving that future to is the one who finally, quietly, stopped letting you get away with not seeing them. The decanter is still in my cabinet. Not as a trophy, not as a scar, just glass finally being used the way it was always meant to be. If you've ever been the invisible one, the fixer, the absorber, the one who held everything together while everyone else got the credit, I want you to hear this. Your silence has an expiration date. And the moment you stop making yourself small, everything changes. Not always loudly, not always dramatically, but it changes. And you deserve to be in the room. Not near the kitchen door, not as a footnote, not as a +1. At the table, with your name on it. Have you ever been treated like a +1 in your own family? Drop your story in the comments, because no one should ever be erased from the people who are supposed to love them most.